Rolling.
Welcome back to the Laurence McKenna channel, where Liverpool have just won 2-0 against Man City at home. Arguably one of Man City's worst performances of the season. They look really, really flat. But that does widen the gap to 11 points. Before I was kind of thinking, how do we reframe this if we lose it or we draw it? It's only so many points. I don't need to reframe it anymore. But still, Liverpool today looked solid. And there was a new thing that I think we did that looked very different to other games, especially in the second half against City. And I'm going to tell you now in the video. Thanks to Google Pixel for the beautiful tickets. Thank you to Stephen for...
I'll put my hands in so they know it's me.
Yeah. What did you think?
City were poor.
Yeah.
Anything that came in the box, Van Dijk or Joe Gomez went fuck off.
Who was our man of the match?
Salah assisted and scored. Brandenburg was really good first half. Kelleher was solid again.
Cody was good.
Gakpo was good. Van Dijk was really, really efficient.
Yeah.
All right. This week, it feels big. And I want to talk about why it feels so big, why it feels so good, why possibly there's still a long part of the season to go, us Arsenal fans, but why it feels so positive to Liverpool to beat these names and essentially to put some of the mind games to bed that allow us to almost just focus on the football. I think that was part of the problem, was we were, as a fan base, trying to overcome some of these mental hurdles of the names that we needed to beat. And actually, there are still loads of things that Arne Slot needs to tick off. The guy is only, 20 games into his Liverpool career? But a lot of the ticks and a lot of the boxes, a lot of the momentum, a lot of the good fortune, all the things that you would want a manager and a team to go through, Arne Slot is embodying, and this team is embodying, and it is looking really good. Let's start off with the fact that Liverpool have just beaten City 2-0, and within that side, there are players that Arne has improved. There are players that Arne has continued to make look good. There are players that he's messing with at the moment. He's sort of playing with it and seeing what happens, and we're learning the roles that he expects them to play game to game. That's why today he started with Cody Gakpo up front, alongside Luis Diaz, who played through the middle a little bit more in this kind of who is the striker type role? Why is Luis Diaz playing as a striker? Is he even playing as a striker? I'd love to know what you guys think. He is playing through the centre, and then he is swapping with Gakpo, so it does make sense like that. We started with Joe Gomez at the back. The midfield, probably the most fluid that I've seen it today, and also the most assured, and also the most confident. Passing through that Madrid midfield gave them some confidence. And this is the thing, right? Is we're busy taking apart our own side. We're busy analysing every week. And yes, I love Liverpool. Yes, I obviously love watching them. Yes, I'm really enjoying this season. But of course, it's also my job to or my role on this channel that I've given myself of what is it that we can break down about this side? Where is it that the improvements can happen? And people seem to take that very personally. People seem to take that as, you don't like this side. Or, if you don't think this, then you don't think they can win the league. No, not at all. Joe Gomez was fantastic today. He was assured. He looked all the things that you want Joe Gomez to look. There was one time where I think he got closed down, and even then he just put the ball back to the keeper. It really looked good. He was confident on and off the ball. His tackling was fantastic. His positioning was sensational. His backup to Trent was brilliant. And he allowed Virgil van Dijk the freedom of movement on the field that was different, granted, to what Konate did. I think Virgil van Dijk looked slightly more engaged today in a very different way, but he allowed him that freedom of movement because he was so solid alongside him, and then you can see they've been working even more on that relationship, and it felt good to see, because this was a guy who, by the fortune of whatever you want to say, was still at the club because we didn't put through some other transfers. So, whether you think he's meant to be at the club or not, and whether you wanted to, move him on from the summer or not, which I didn't really, but, if you were looking at a piece to move on, you probably would have said Joe Gomez might be one of them. Joe Gomez is here. He's doing a fantastic job. And I think as a backup for that amount of time, to be able to come in and to be able to put a commanding performance in like that is actually really impressive. So Joe Gomez, the Liverpool fans applaud you, as we did. Kelleher, equally. They were shouting Ireland's number one, not Liverpool's number one, Ireland's number one, which you can imagine Alisson kind of watching and being like, I like that they still respect me in some capacity. Again, Kelleher, a great performance from him. Stopped the one-on-one with Haaland, was straight at him when Virgil van Dijk made that mistake, and broadly in the game, controlled the box really, really well. Not much was asked of him. I think they had 8 shots total in the whole game. Not much was asked of him for pretty much the whole 90 minutes by City, but when he was called upon, he was sharp. Robbo equally looked good. There were a couple of times when people got in behind him, But sometimes I feel like that's kind of like, well, that's the way you're meant to play wingers nowadays. You let them get beyond you, you keep running, you recover. His recoveries were very often fantastic. Robbo looked good. He's had another solid performance against a series and a slew of wingers that Pep threw at him, and Pep threw on some wingers really late on. Trent looked good in terms of, he looked assured, but I don't think he actually had a great game. And that's just me being sort of, I guess, nitpicky. A couple of times his passes went awry, and I know he's meant to take risky passes, but there were some simple things in there that I think could have been done better. Obviously I love watching him as a player. I thought his one-on-one skills when it came down to facing up at opposition was fantastic. But I do think there were a couple of passing times where I thought, oh, come on, like, could that have been something you held on to? And that's partly down to the sort of sped up combination play that we're seeing Liverpool try at the moment, which I don't mind. Like, I really do like it when there's all these 1-2s and like trying to get Salah away quick, or trying to get Trent away quick, or trying to get someone through the middle of midfield. That diagonal pass across City's midfield really worked today. And yeah, like broadly, I'm still pro Trent, but after watching that assured Conor Bradley performance and watching the Trent performance, you can see the difference. Trent is a very assured player, but there are a couple of times in the game where you just think, oh God, like I wish we just, you've got the vision. Have the vision of the game to be able to play that ball. And that's me as a normal non-ball player, being able to sit here and criticise him. Now we're going to the midfield. I'll leave the strike force until the end. That midfield looked its most assured to me today, marginally because they were allowed the game. They didn't really start anyone in midfield that we were going to be worried about or overly worried about. And frankly, it was really only Phil Foden that, for me, posed any real threat today. I guess from time to time I'm like, oh, I appreciate Rico Lewis. I liked his performances. Again, that's another performance where we sort of ran over another midfield and really dominated, not only through the press higher up the field, and therefore we were able to bring our midfielders down the field and let them win the ball back, but also when we were deep. Like in that second half, Liverpool really sat back and went, okay then City, if you're going to really try and bring the game to us, we're going to absorb that pressure and try and counter on you. The frustrating thing was, that was probably my only frustration with this midfield in the whole game. When they were trying to get the ball out the back, the passing lines just really weren't there, and the immediacy to be able to play the ball out, they didn't always present themselves in the way I would have wanted. That's probably my only criticism. Winning the ball back, closing down space, keeping them at arm's length, all those things, like keeping them on the end of that jab that we're always talking about, really worked today. I thought Gravenberch was masterful. A number of times we just turned through City's midfield. There was a little drop of the shoulder, go the other way. A couple of times McAllister, who's just a fiend for a round the corner ball, was really good for that. Like not long round the corner balls, but like very short ones. It worked so well. And Anfield was really up for this game. They the You'll Never Walk Alone was better than the Real Madrid one. The early chanting was better than the Real Madrid early chanting. You could see we were like into these. Do you know what I mean? And I enjoyed that. It was really good. There was two dads alongside me. There was like some kids, and I was really worried about swearing near them. We were there with Google Pixel, again, thank you for that. But I was really worried about like swearing near them. Suddenly this dad just gets up and is just going off at the ref. I'll finish this and then I'll talk about the ref and all the rest of the things. McAllister was great. Szoboszlai ran his heart out. And that's where I feel like really, there are so many games where I think you almost see Slot going, challenging him and going, do another 5. Go on, do an extra 5. If you're going to run like this, if you're going to be this kind of player, do another 5 minutes. We're going to squeeze all the time that we can out of you. But he was great again today. I thought there were a lot of times where, people criticize him and they don't like his arrogance, or they don't like his swagger, or they don't like whatever it is. I really enjoy Szoboszlai as a player. I really enjoy him, his energy and the confidence that he brings to the team. I think that arrogance allows the confidence, or whatever, vice versa. It works really well for me. I'm down for it. Just, keep honing your craft is, I guess, what I'm saying. I want to see a few more goals. I want to see a bit more adventurous play, but because he's so up and down the field, because we saw him sitting deep sometimes, then getting further down, I can forgive that. And I will forgive these Liverpool players if I see them making effort. A lot of people are very critical of Szoboszlai. Even in the stadium, there was a misplaced pass late on, or like there was a bit of a lazy pass, or something just slightly went awry, and everyone was on him all of a sudden. I was like, come on, guys, like, give this. I think we forget he's still very young. He's an international captain, and we get on him for that reason. There are high expectations, and there are high expectations in midfield, which we should continue to expect, right? But again, like he's still one of the younger guys in the team, and I really appreciate him as a player. So Szoboszlai, you've got my backing, as does everyone else. Front line. Today we started with a weird front line. Like, it looked unusual. Luis Diaz through the middle is beginning to look less and less weird to me. I think he really poses that like winger threat. He allows us to swap. It works really well. Gakpo was just a constant threat off the left, the carrying of the ball, the great passing, combination play, always trying to bring Robbo into it. Robbo's underlaps and overlaps work so well. All of these Feyenoord green lights are just going off for me. It's like, oh, he's getting his claws into them in training. And then Salah. Salah again, I don't know how you feel about Salah, but I really enjoyed him today. I think his head didn't go down once. Scored, obviously. Great penalty, great celebration. He's iconic at this point again for us. But I just really enjoy his it's joyful play out there with Trent, and you could see how enthusiastic he was to get at that back line, similar to the Real Madrid team, similar to everyone else. And as much as you got those post-match comments or kind of people are pulling comments out of him now, it's like, was that your last game? Well, I was treating it mentally as if it was. Like all these kind of things. They're almost baiting him into making these sort of like, I guess, incendiary comments. But, it is what it is. I personally am more and more becoming of the opinion that Liverpool might sign all three to new contracts, and actually, we're just waiting for the process to play out. Maybe someone else will come in with a big bid, and, we're looking to have that negotiation process after those big bids come in, or the big opening bids from January come in. I think the players all know, like, nothing's going to resolve itself before January, and if it does, it shows a real intent for the player to want to be at the club. That people have turned. They went from disliking Trent to disliking Salah to all these kind of things. No one's really turned on Verge because I think a lot of people are they think he's the most likely to sign, so there's no reason on having an opinion or a place on him. But it's all that unsurety. It's the press feeding into that kind of undermining. And if someone was to want to leave in January, or someone was to come in with a big thing or a big rumour, I think that would undermine some of what we've laid down at the club. But at the same time, yeah, I think that's another video. I'll do another video. The subs were good. Curtis coming on. Curtis controlled the game. He looked assured. He was, again, fantastic. Frustrated City. You could tell today we were just really enjoying frustrating City. Either sitting back and going, go on then, work it through us. They barely ever did that. There were a couple of times in the beginning of the second half where they really put a ball forward to Haaland, and maybe it's because I was closer to the Kop end. I sort of felt like the ball coming towards us as opposed to just going down the other end. They turned us round in the first half to shoot towards the Kop. Frustrating, but it is what it is. But you could kind of see, like, weirdly, the ref almost felt sorry for City at different points. They really couldn't get in our faces. They really couldn't work us out. We made them look distinctly average, but they also multiple times didn't take risks, didn't want to play the odds against us. Again, I'll say it, like, we've played some decent sides, but we've really not played them at the peak of their name. We've played some names, we've not played those people at the peak of their names. And I'm bored of the people who are now playing into this Liverpool narrative and just trying to do the whole thing of, oh, Liverpool haven't played anyone good. Oh, well, they have now. It's like, come on, do better than that. We've played good sides, but we haven't played anyone at the peak of their powers yet. We've played people who you're tactically impressed with, or people who you think played things that you thought would trip us up, and they didn't, and that's good, but we've not been punch for punch with anyone yet. We certainly haven't been there with City. We certainly weren't there with Madrid. Arsenal were the closest we came, and we drew with them, and, I think they played conservatively against us, but, broadly they're a good team. Chelsea, no, I'm not being negative for the sake of it here, guys. I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to playing those teams, but we've not played them yet. Newcastle, I think, pose a good challenge midweek. I know they drew against Palace, but they pose a good challenge. They're a team who like to punch up. They're a team who like to frustrate. They're an Eddie Howe type personality. It's going to be that sort of thing for us. Anyway, that is coming very, very close, by the way. A series of games just back to back to back here all the way into early December. I think there's one immediately the day after my birthday, all these kind of things. So December the 6th is my birthday. So very good. Curtis, great subs. Slot, really fantastic. Anfield, great atmosphere. Getting into the players, booing City constantly, silencing the City fans. Sacked in the morning to Pep chant, brilliant. I know he sort of took it in a good way. The other chanting during the game aimed at City, great. Manchester is full of, and so on and so on and so on. Love that. But then I sat in a cab on the way home with two Dutch fans who'd never been to Anfield before, and they said, wow, it's incredible. Thank you, by the way, to those guys for the lift. I offered to pay. They paid, and it was good. £7 to Liverpool City Centre from there. Pretty good price. Anyway, point being, they said, oh, we expected this, or at least we felt that there would be an uptick. We knew what Slot instills at Liverpool. We knew what it is that he does to teams. We knew what he did at Feyenoord. We knew what he did in the Dutch league. We knew he cook, essentially, is what they were saying. And that was very satisfying to hear. But at the same time, you know, Slot's a big fan of Pep, you know, and I never thought he was going to get overwhelmed by playing Pep, but he was a big fan of Pep, and like I think there is something about beating one of the people you really respect and the kind of football that you really want to see and all these kind of things, and that is satisfying for me. Anyway, I enjoy watching this Liverpool side more and more week in, week out. Like, I've loved it more and more that I've been to the stadium. I was nervous early on because I thought, well, is this just a new manager bounce? It's not. Like, it feels very real now when the players are out there. Like I said, we've got something we can support now. We know the language of what Slot is trying to achieve. Sometimes he makes subs and we sort of go, that's good, that's interesting, like that's what I wanted. There was a couple of guys complaining around us today of playing 2 left wingers, and at one point Pep brought on a whole load of wingers. I think this like winger re-rolling thing that we're doing at the moment, whereas like they're finding new roles and space to be able to go at players is a big thing in the league. Like it's broadly like the thing to do right now. Pep did it. He like doubled up on wingers and then sent the fullbacks down, and you know, broadly Real Madrid were trying to work down the outside. If I'd have done a preview, I'd probably have said that, you know. I definitely would have said that. So, all really good. I would say if I was going to pick nits, it would be that this wasn't a maximum City team. Fair enough. There were a couple of times where I felt we dropped off, maybe just slightly too much, but that's like a pitch control thing that maybe Slot's experimenting with, and maybe the players themselves are experimenting with. And I will admit, like, there were a couple of times where I was a bit frustrated with Trent, nervous for Robbo. I think our 2 fullbacks, they are exposed in this because we got so much strength in the middle, but they're very mature and they work really well with that. And then I've got to admit, like, you know, Nunes came on and gave us a lot of energy, and winning that penalty was fantastic. It's great to see Salah score that goal. The first goal was fantastic, by the way, like really satisfying to watch. Amazing, well-picked ball from Salah, really beautiful eye of the needle stuff, and it picked the lock so well. It's why you would keep Salah if you wanted to. If you were making a case, you'd show people that. His combination play, the picking of a pass, it's peak Salah for me. It really is like, he's playing the hits at this point as he's allegedly on the way out. And it's really enjoyable to watch. Liverpool fans are reacting to it as well. Like, we are, as a stadium today, we reacted way better than we did against Real Madrid. I think we were way less worried about City. We were sort of more like, get into these here. And against Madrid, there was a bit more apprehension. But it works. And Slot has to capitalise on it. I think there are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be times where we will have a silly loss at some point. But having that cushion against City and the 9 points or whatever it is, I think it's 9 points different to Arsenal. Arsenal are the team now. City fans, we never really paid attention to them. But watch the Arsenal fans. They're starting to snipe already, guys. They're starting to get their little digs in. It's the, well, we'll see you in May, bro. It's your title to lose. You're the ones who are ahead. To some extent, they're right. Like, to some extent, we are the favourites in this title race now. Like, we should own that as a moniker. We should own that as a thing for us. And I enjoy that. But they are going to come sniping. Don't be biting. Don't be biting. No one bite. Because you don't want that. You don't want to bite to an Arsenal fan. They're receipt keepers. And they're also very good at picking, because they will close that gap at some point. There will be a loss one weekend against a team we didn't expect, and there'll be a bit of a lapse, and there'll be all these things. But remember, this is an Arne Slot team. We've still got plenty to look forward to about his season management, all those kind of things. We've not seen him do this before, so we're all going into the unknown. The same as the Arsenal team. The same as the Arsenal fans who are picking at the moment, going, you fell away last season. Different manager, different management of the team. All the things they pick at, now I see they're quality picks. You know, Arsenal have played a lot of their difficult games, etc., etc. Have Liverpool played their difficult games? Have we gone away to X? Have we gone away to Y? All the points that we've been making to each other in these videos, guys. Don't let them pick. Bring them to our Discord. Bring them to our Patreon. Appreciate those things. Anyway, I also appreciate you. I'd love to know what you really enjoyed during the game. I think it was an accomplished performance all around from this Liverpool team, but it was never really made hard by City. Same as when I saw the Real Madrid team turning back. And early on, City cancelled us out. Early on, you know, Real Madrid cancelled us out. It's these in-game Slot solves that I'm really enjoying. And I will have a video tomorrow about how Slot solves the opposition managers and how our different game states, our different changes, the moments when we choose to punch, the moments when we choose to hit the opposition, and when we really rock them back and they find it very difficult to recover. And it's those moments and the game management that isn't just Slot, is the players as well. I'm really enjoying watching right now. Appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much for being part of the channel. Like I said, there's a Discord, there's a Patreon if you want to contribute to the work. and I will see you guys on this channel again tomorrow. Much love.